All right. The presentation is called How to Create a Life Vision That Sticks, a Guide to Conscious Decision Making. So my first slide looks like this. Of course, a meeting agenda. So this is, if this was like a normal presentation, then you would see something like this. Maybe, like I would walk you through the elements of this talk. We would talk about a job to be done, which in this case would be creating a life vision. We would talk about, insights and what are the problems of creating a life vision, the principles, so the building blocks of building a life vision. And I would give you a visual model, the hockey stick of your life, because we're all startup people and we like that, we know that, and the tactics of how to implement it. And of course, I'm a product manager. There needs to be a roadmap, But something is missing in this slide, and to me, that's one of the most important questions. And that's why, why am I doing this? And the why to me is also the most important question you have to ask when you think about your life vision, because it gives you direction. And so I'm doing this today because for most of my life, I was lacking a vision, and I felt, like I have no direction. I always had like goals, or I thought I had goals, something that I could, like look forward to. But 3 years ago, I kind of, crashed and burned. I had a huge burnout / PTSD from drug misuse. I tried magic mushrooms and had like this crazy panic attack and anxiety episode. So this would go on for like at least 2 years. Every 2 weeks, I would crash and burn into 3-4 days of severe anxiety and panic. And I don't know if you ever experienced like very deep emotions, dark emotions, and it was devastating. Like at some points, I really thought my life was over. But the good thing about this is that I started asking questions, I mean, if I ever get out of this, what is it that I want to give back? What is it that I, want to represent? What is the persona that I want to project into the world? And so to me, then it was a lot about recalibrating my values, which is basically representing who I am and what I stand for. And what's the vision that I can build from this? And what's my mission? Why am I here? Why am I here on this planet? And those are all very, philosophical and deep questions. And I can't really say that I have like a clear answer to that, but I just wanted to walk you through my thinking process and through the things that I've learned about life, about myself, about what I want. And maybe, that helps you to get better vision for your life. So I want to start with this because, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, a big fanboy. I love what he's doing because he's a very inspiring person to me. He knows exactly what he wants, and he knows exactly how the world should look like in the future to his mind. And when you then think about other companies like Audi, for example, it's a big brand. Everyone knows it. They're building excellent cars. But when you look at their vision, that's not a vision, that this is something they have on their website. And I don't know how much euros they have spent on this. But when they talk about vision, they say things like, in the long term, we will offer carbon neutral premium mobility, or in the medium term, we will offer the strongest range of electric models amongst the premium competitors, or we want to be the most progressive premium brand with the best customer experience. I mean, what does it even mean, the best customer experience? It's not even specific. It's just, like random gibberish that they put on their website to feel good and sprinkle in some ESG measures to, let young people feel good. But it's nothing, it doesn't inspire me. It doesn't give me a picture of what they want to do. Images in my head are, to me, very important. If I want to be excited about something, I need an idea of what are you talking about? Like, what is this? How does it feel like? So to me, this is no vision. This is just a set of goals, and very revenue-driven goals. A friend of mine, Sam, he's from Australia. He's a really interesting guy. He's into innovation. I was just talking to him yesterday, and because he posted something on Facebook when I talked about vision, and he said, yeah, this is vision washing. It's reducing a vision to a materialist function, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling nothingness. So this is exactly what it is, and I found it so, yeah, so exact. Yeah, but basically, this was me most of my life. I hope you understand what that means, what it is. Like it's a little boat with 3 sails on it. But you can see the sails there, like not pointing in one direction. They're just fluttering in the wind. And but it's also because I could go anywhere. I studied business, and like when you study business, you're not an expert. You can just do whatever you want. And at the same time, that freedom gives you a lot of, I don't know, it doesn't provide the focus that I needed back then to go forwards. So I would just, like try whatever. And if you can go anywhere, there are a lot of goals that you could try to achieve, but they're all over the place. And you're actually, if you can go anywhere, you're going nowhere. So you don't have direction. So then I was thinking about, okay, like, had you asked me like 10 years ago when I was so desperately looking for a vision, and you would have asked me about my values, I would have said, okay, yeah, wealth. I want to be wealthy. I want to go on adventures. I want to be independent. I want to be recognized, and I want to feel, I want to feel pride. But same as the Audi vision. This is just very unspecific, and it's not saying anything. So yeah, this is just the what. It's not the why. And so when you try to be more specific, wealth, what does it mean? A big house, a lot of money, a Porsche in the driveway, recognition. I'm being recognized for my work and my achievements in life. I want to do trips to awesome places, and back then I wanted to be a digital nomad, because it's cool, and I want to be proud of my achievements. I want to prove to be better than my competitors or other people my age. And I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want it. So, but okay, then, like I had a couple of goals that were kind of on this road, but how do you know that this road is actually the road that leads you to Rome, the road that leads you to happiness and fulfillment? You don't, because if you don't even know if your values are healthy values. And back then I didn't know that. It was just like, this is what I want to achieve, and those are my values, and here we go. So, but at least you have, like some kind of like a direction, some light on your ship that is guiding the way, but it's a very narrow, or it's a very short-sighted light. So you just see a couple of goals and say, okay, this is the path I want to go. And your values are describing the path, and the goals that are on that path. It's already better than having no direction, but it's very short-sighted. And what I want to talk about now is conscious design, because when you make decisions about where you want to go, you're consciously designing your life. Most people don't even do that. By already knowing about your values, I would say are the 10%, maybe the 5% of people who are actually doing exercises like this. I think most people are they're like boats on an ocean, with fluttering sails, and other people make decisions for them. Because if you don't make decisions for yourself, other people will, and they will decide how you live your life. And that could be your employer, or that could be the government, or whatever. Whenever you are in their kind of playing field, and you don't decide to actively design your life, then you have to play after their rules. And so the three tools that you have for conscious design, I want to talk about that now. So the first tool are thoughts. When you actively, when you introduce thoughts that are, helping you to proactively create the life that you want, then you are already way ahead. But when you then, let your words follow, when you say what you think, and when you do what you say, then you live a life full of integrity, because you subconsciously know that all of these three sails are pointing in the same direction. Most people, they will tell you something different. They think differently, but then they say something else, and then they do nothing, or they do something else again. So of course, this is not always the case. Sometimes you have you're lying because you want to make somebody feel good. I mean, we all do that, but it's not what you call integrity. And by doing that, by consciously being aware of your thoughts and let words follow and your actions follow, you're more consciously designing your reality. Okay, now that we have talked about the what's and the values, I want to talk about the why again, because to me that's the central question when talking about vision. And I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek's. I mean, he's like this famous talk where he's talking about the why, and he's talking about companies like Apple and how they inspire people. I mean, today I would say, to me, that's Elon Musk. When you think about other companies, they would tell you like, hey, we're building rockets, but Elon Musk will tell you, no, we're like trying to transform the planet, into a renewable energy system. Like, we want to have renewable transport, or we want to have electric cars everywhere, and we want to make the human species a multiplanetary species. And when you hear that, at least when I hear that, I instantly have images in my head, and I'm seeing how he sees the future, and it excites me. And that's exactly the reason why Elon Musk doesn't need to advertise for his products, and that's why the most intelligent people, like the smartest people, flock to his companies. If you ask the smartest engineers where they want to work in the US, it's always Tesla or SpaceX, and that's for a reason. And when you ask the why, and when you look at my shitty values from 10 years ago, and you ask the why, and I'm really honest with myself, then okay, yeah, I wanted the big house because I grew up in lack, and I had a scarcity mindset. I wanted to, get out of there. And recognition, yeah, I wanted to be recognized because I didn't feel good enough. I felt small, and I needed external confirmation. And adventure, of course, I wanted to do these awesome trips and be a digital nomad. But when I was living in Bali for 4 months, it sounds beautiful, but I did it for the pictures, and I didn't even feel good being there because I started being a freelancer. I didn't have any companies to work for, and I felt depressed for 4 months, to be honest. But also that for the need of external confirmation. And pride, same thing, not good enough. Need for achievement to define myself. And independence, I would say, doing whatever I want to do. To me, it was fear of commitment, or to at least today, it's the fear of commitment. And I was always like that, always just never committing, just doing whatever I want. But it gives you, to me, it's not fulfilling. I think it needs to be in balance. Yeah, so when you think about goals and how we in our society live, then let me just go back. So to me, this is how most of us live. It's just like chasing goals, but not knowing why, not knowing what's the overarching goal, what's the vision. And I mean, this is basically how most companies work. This is how we work. This is how society imprints how to live on us, get an education, build a house, get married, have kids, and then you're happy. That's the prescription we get. But this is also very dangerous, because it attaches our happiness to the outcome. And it's always I'll be happy when, it's not happy now, it's happy when. It's happy when you achieve this. And this is it's dangerous because it messes with your dopamine system. And I will tell you more about the neuroscience later on and what it does to you. But this is not only us in our normal lives, this is also you on Facebook, like scrolling through your feed, like just getting the dopamine kick after dopamine kick because you see something new, or your Instagram feed, whatever. And this behavior is basically the same thing as addictive behavior. It messes with the same system. It's the dopamine network. Let me go back. So yeah, what is goal-driven mentality like? It's always an external motivation. You're only being motivated by external things. Like what's the next goal that I can reach? I just said it. I'll be happy when this happens. Sometime in the future, I'll be happy. And most of the time, out of the lack of scarcity, I don't have it yet. I'm not there yet. So I'm living in constant lack because I don't have it. And there's this really interesting test that they made. So they were kids, and these kids love to draw stuff. And at some point, they would introduce a star sticker. So they would get a star sticker whenever they draw something. They drew something, and so after a while, they would get used to the stars. And then at some point, they took the stars away and said, "No more stars." And the kids stopped painting pictures, because they were getting used to the external reward. And so they loved painting before, and now they just stopped. And when you're goal driven without an overarching goal, it's you not always, but at least it was that to me. You have analysis paralysis. There are so many things you could do, but in the end, then you do nothing, and you don't have a clear path. And that's is also very related to this switching between tasks that we have in our lives a lot. Just switching between email, Slack, doing this, doing that. But this is messing with our brains, and it's very inefficient to work that way. It's like learning 9 languages a little bit, but then you learn 9 languages a little bit, and not a single one you're proficient in. So the next thing I wanted to understand is what are my needs as a human being? And I read this book, Fritz Riemann, he's talking about the 4 basic anxieties of humans, and how that is governed by a universal law. He says, he's just making that comparison. So there are the Earth and the Sun, and the Earth is turning around itself, revolving around itself, which means you as a human being are supposed to be a unique person. But the Earth is also revolving around the Sun, which means you are unique, but you're also part of a greater system, and you need to be part of that system. So, and then there's gravity. Gravity, means it's everything is being pulled to the ground. It's build up, and which basically to him means build a home, build something long lasting, build a foundation. And then the opposing force is the centrifugal force. And this is go out, explore, reinvent yourself. And to me, for example, I was always the one, I wanted to go out, explore, reinvent myself, and never wanted to settle down. But in the end, it's about bringing these opposing forces into balance. It's never either or, it's always a combination. And I think the trick is to find balance between these things in life. And this is another exercise I did because I think it's super powerful. Contemplating death. Who do you want to be when you're on your deathbed? Who do you want to be? What do you want to look back at? What's your what do you want to be proud of? And when you ask people who are dying, then those are the top 5 regrets. And to me, this is very revealing because it has nothing to do with material possessions. It's the number one regret is I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. This is to me the most important one. And the second one, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Also good. 3 years, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. 4 is, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And 5 is, I wish that I had let myself be happier. So when you let that sink in, these are all things that you can change today. You can today try to, stay in touch with your friends. You can allow yourself to be happy right now. You can do that. Sometimes it's working. And expressing feelings. I mean, this is, to me, at least as a man in the Western world, this is not a natural thing. So I had to learn that. And after I did that, I did a lot of exercises, and there are a lot of really simple exercises that you can do, like journaling, for example, and it will help you to reflect on things differently. But one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to have a mission statement, and I wanted to have a written confirmation of why I'm here. And so my mission, in this case, a life purpose, revolves around communicating, teaching, healing others, and serving humanity in a manner that suits my personality. And that I describe as initiative, progressive, supportive, cooperative, persistent, compassionate. And my natural abilities, empathetic listening, enthusiastic motivator, communicating my own truth, breaking down complexity, connecting the seemingly unrelated, and learning from past mistakes. And my personal interests are sustainability, personal development, technology in general, alternative lifestyles, and cryptocurrencies. And I am to set a positive example for others and inspire them to seek their own passion and purpose. And with that already, it's just like one page, but I read it out loud like every now and then. And it's a reminder for me that, that's important. What I'm doing today is important for me to like bring myself on the right path. And this is the reason why I'm doing this talk now. I want to, like transport my truth out into the world. And so I pushed myself to, just do this talk. It's just for my own happiness in the end. So when we come back to the conscious design part, now all of a sudden you have a mission. The ship is your mission, and you can start to create your vision. But your vision is still like this fuzzy thing in the future somewhere. You can you have your mission, and you know who you want to become. But your vision is still very unclear, and you don't know what it means. It's far away. And to me, there's really one secret sauce in life. It's the most powerful thing you have access to, and it's involved in all of these things. It's involved in purchase decisions. It's in relationships and motivation. It's connected to your memories, and it's what you have when you're looking forward to something. Do you have an idea what it is? Anyone?
Yes.
Say it.
Love.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. It's, love is definitely an emotion as well, but emotions are human drivers, and it doesn't matter if it's love or if it's anger. It's how you utilize emotions to propel yourself forward, basically. So the emotions are your wind in the sails. The emotions are what's pushing you forward. And to me, for example, it's anxiety. Like my anxiety will tell me exactly when I have to move my butt. When I'm like getting lethargic, or when I'm working on meaningless projects, when I do them just for money, my anxiety will tell me. Like for example, preparing this talk, I didn't feel my anxiety because I was super excited, and it kind of confirmed that I'm on the right path. Of course, I'm nervous, I'm stressed now, but it's a whole different perception. And so I can utilize my emotions to propel me forward. And now all of a sudden you can see like the beam of light is becoming bigger. It's stretching into the future because you have your emotions involved. And most people, you know, they say like, or they think that they're a slave to their emotions. Some people even think they're a slave to their thoughts, but you can use them consciously, and you can also steer them. So the opposite to a goal-driven mentality is a vision-driven mentality, and the difference is that you start to create internal motivation because you're not motivated by the goals anymore, but by an overarching vision, and that vision is inside of you, and this can give you internal motivation. I will tell you later on how to create that internal motivation, because it doesn't always come naturally. But it's more about enjoying the process. It's not about looking forward to reaching that goal, but to being happy in the moment and to enjoy the process that you need to get to that goal. And some entrepreneurs know that. They are always happy when they're working. They're always happy when they're working towards something. But this can also, you know, be taken to the extreme. If you only have one thing that you're doing and one thing that you're enjoying, which is work, for example, you can also get addicted to that. And, you know, like we have that term workaholics. I mean, that's true, because the dopamine system that is being activated is the same thing that's being activated by, you know, like when you're getting addicted to alcohol, for example. But a vision-driven mentality is, you know, you have your emotions involved. You get excited about something, and when you get excited about something, you have a huge propeller, like a tremendous propellant, like propelling you forward, and you're more focused on what you want to do. And the focus is one of the key elements, together with your emotions, because you, like everything that you do, the goals that you're reaching on your path towards your vision, they are under that overarching vision. So your brain automatically knows that what you're doing right now is something that you do because you want to go to that like goal in the future, like because you want to reach your vision. And this is also another one that Sam gave me together with the first one that he said. So he said that the potential of a real vision is in creating an intelligence that is capable of writing its own destiny. Then the vision chooses the people and product to represent its form in the world. So to me, this is a very, you know, spiritual perspective, but it kind of resonates with me, because I think the vision is great. Most of the time, at least, a vision should be greater than a person. So the vision, like Elon Musk's vision, for example, when you think about his vision, it's more than what he will do in the future. You know, he's talking about how the future will look like to him, and his vision is inspiring other people to join him on that track. You know, and to also, you know, start building electric cars and start creating that potential future. And I think that's what's so powerful about a vision that excites people. And when you compare that, you know, external motivation versus internal motivation, outcome-driven versus process-driven, a scattered mind versus a focused mind, very unconscious behavior versus conscious behavior, addiction versus excitement, and like living in the future and living in the moment. That's, to me, like the real difference. And so so I have changed on my ship. I have changed the, you know, like the little lamp that you had in front. I changed it to, like, this is supposed to look like a laser beam. And now you're asking, like, why do you put the vision behind the boat? To me, that has to do with being in the moment, and using your vision as something that you already do today. It's not something like some fuzzy goal in the future. It's not something that because otherwise it would just be another goal, and it would be another, you know, I'll be happy when. So I'm using my vision to create the life that I want today. And if the material world doesn't look like the way I want it, I can still use my imagination and my feelings to create that potential future in my mind. And of course, that doesn't mean that by creating it in my mind it will come true, but it is programming your brain in a way that it makes it more likely for you to get on that path. And I will tell you a little bit about the neuroscience later on. But and I will also give you an exercise of how to do that. I mean, it sounds a little bit like quack science, but there's really some scientific backing behind it. And yeah, the Mandalorian says this is the way. So what's the difference between these two? I don't know. Yeah, what I wanted to say is that sometimes, if you don't have your own vision, and if you don't know how your future should look like, I personally think that you can also be inspired by someone else's vision and follow that person's vision and make that your vision of the future. And of course, you won't build rocket ships and you won't build electric cars, but maybe you could be a part of that vision by just using your thoughts and your words. Like you could just communicate these ideas. For example, I talk about renewable energies and electric cars all the time with other people. I'm just like I won't stop. I was just like tell people how fast we will see the transition and how cool I think it is and blah blah blah. But what it does is very important, because you're creating pictures in other people's heads, which you could call it the butterfly effect or whatever, but by transporting that idea, it will be transported by other people as well. And sometimes you're wondering why inventions pop up in two places at the same time on this planet without people talking to each other. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's just like that you transport your ideas and it's being multiplied by other people. And I think we sometimes underestimate the impact that we have on other people when we talk to them. And also, emotions are the strongest power you have. If you can evoke emotions in other people's minds with your words, then that's already a very powerful impact that you're having. So the actual science behind it, this guy, he's Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist in Stanford. He's a really interesting guy. You can find him on YouTube. There are really a lot of interesting talks, and he will tell you how to use your brain properly and how to change your brain and change your thinking. And so one thing that he said was really hitting me, because it's very true for me. I did a lot of brain trainings in the last 3 years to reduce my anxiety. And he says that controlling the autonomous arousal is the next step of human evolution. And it's very important in the time that we have right now with COVID. We see that a lot of people are very stressed. They don't know what to do. They're anxious, and it's affecting their lives really. But there are a lot of things you can do to control the stress response. And you can dial it down, but you can also dial it up if you need stress, because stress is an important player in dopamine release. Then you can actually, you have the steering wheel in your hand. You can use your emotions to your advantage. So forward action, for example, is always being rewarded with the biggest release in dopamine. So there's the fight or flight thing. So you can choose to run away, you can choose to freeze, or you can choose to fight and go forward. And that is always like the highest amount of stress, but also the highest amount of dopamine in your system. And when you learn to attach that dopamine to forward action, to being uncomfortable, to trying something new, then at some point your brain will learn that it's actually good to go into that uncomfort. And so to me, really the most important part of the vision driven mentality is like the ability to self-reward the effort process. So if you don't want to be rewarded by external things anymore, if you want to move into the vision driven mentality, you have to learn how to self-reward yourself. And the key element is a thing called duration path outcome. So your brain is constantly analyzing, like, how long will it take to get there? What's my path? And what's the outcome? So when you look at goals, that are far ahead in the future, then your brain will always analyze, how long does it take me to get there, and how, like, what's the path to go there? And if it doesn't need to do that, or if like the effort to do that is really low because it's a small goal, like, for example, it's that's why you make your to-do list in the morning. Like, you have small goals, you break it down. That's why you have a roadmap and product management. You break it down. You have like user stories that are very small, because it's something that is, it's affecting you biochemically. So for your own life, if you have a big vision, you want to go there, you really have to find a way for yourself to break it down into small chunks of work that you want to do to get on that path, and then also be able to self-reward yourself. So it's like when you talk to Navy SEALs, for example, they are, of course, gritty and resilient, but these people have learned how to self-reward themselves. They say that they don't need external rewards anymore. When you look at the buds, for example, that's like the initial training that they do, where they really sort out the good ones and versus the bad ones. People who really go through that process and come out successful, they know how to self-reward themselves. And this is something you can adapt. It's something that needs a little bit of training, but sometimes it's just like really a pat on the shoulder and telling yourself, like, hey, you did good. Like, just looking back at the effort that you invested and say, like, hey, okay, no, that's cool. That's a really good thing. It helps me on my path. And the non-attachment, this is a very Buddhist thing to say, but in the end, not being attached to any external goals will make you happier in the end. And one thing that's also that I find really interesting is that your brain always tries to. So when you think about your brain as a computer, then the conscious part of your brain is really like a very small, not so powerful computer, and the subconscious mind is the powerful computer. It's 40 million times faster than the conscious mind. So your brain always tries to store stuff in the subconscious mind when it's like done repetitively, and when something is learned behaviors. And the depression and anxiety, in a way, are also learned behavior. Your brain learned to think and feel that way. And so when you drive a car, for example, and you're on your phone, then who's driving the car and who's on the phone? Like, your conscious mind is on the phone, but the monkey mind is driving the car. And so there is the conscious mind is the gatekeeper to your subconscious mind. And that's why I'm saying conscious design. If you consciously think and act, then you are actually changing the things that your conscious mind lets through to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is in the end responsible for 95% of your actions throughout the day. 95% of the time you're acting very reflexive, habitual, almost like an animal in the end. So, and the brain always moves from focus to reflexive. So if you focus on something, and there is a sense of urgency in it while you're learning it, then your brain will mark it with a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, and will store it. And the more you do it, the more often you do it, the more your brain moves it into the subconscious mind. So you do it more, habitual, or like it moves it to like a reflexive behavior. So in the end, you can say that, by learning something, or like when you visualize something, when you visualize your future and you do it, intense, with an intense focus and a sense of urgency, you're at some point storing that information in your subconscious mind. And when you do that, when you try to live your vision by thinking it and feeling it, and try to try to visualize your vision as if it would happen, or as if it would happen today. So as if your vision has already come true. And when you do that, when you know how to self-reward the effort process, then and stuff gets transported to your subconscious mind, then you're on autopilot. Then all of a sudden the laser beam becomes like something like a rocket ship on your mission. It's automatically propelling you forward in the right direction. You don't need to think about it as much anymore, because that's what you do. That's who you are. And so you see the milestones. They're kind of like tracks that your ship is on. These milestones are small enough for you to to always give you a constant boost of dopamine, and the dopamine is always reducing the quit response. So your brain needs a certain amount of stress, but it only has like a certain amount of noradrenaline, the stress neurotransmitter. So if you use all your noradrenaline, or if you use too much of it, there's a counter, and then your brain will say, okay, look, I don't like that anymore. I'm stopping. And dopamine is dialing that down all the time. So it's buffering the noradrenaline. And you can get dopamine by self-rewarding yourself. Make the milestones small enough and self-reward yourself, and you will have a lot more energy for whatever you're doing. And so to break it down, the regimen that I would recommend, that I'm doing, or that I was doing in the past a lot, is to really take 20 minutes of your time every day to visualize who you want to become, and what your life should look like. And it's a very simple thing. This is something that I've learned from a psychotherapist in Berlin. He says, take 10 sentences that describe your perfect life. It could be something like, I wanna have my own family. I want to have kids, or I want to build a company that does this and that. Whatever it is, or even if it's just I want to drive a Tesla, you can do that as well. But be aware, we talked about all of this, about your values. Ask why you have these values, and what it is that you want to do, and who you want to become, and write down these 10 sentences. A good exercise, even if you only write down these 10 sentences without doing the exercise, it's definitely an interesting exercise. And then every night before you go to bed, take one of these sentences. For example, I want to build a company, and it's like a meditation. You go through it and you use all of your senses. So you go through this one sentence, and you build a story around that sentence. So for example, I want to build a company, and then you just create a story, 20-minute story, and you imagine yourself in that company, how you're kicking off the scrum meeting, or how you're motivating people, and how good it feels to be with these people and to work on something meaningful. But you take all of your senses separately. So first you do the visual stuff, then you do the auditory senses, and your smells and your taste. All of that you do for maybe 3-4 minutes, and you really try to do the senses separately, because they're connected in different parts of your brain. But for your brain to make a coherent story out of it, it needs to connect these different areas in your brain. So it's kind of crisscross wiring these neural connections. And they say that when you do that for 20 minutes before you go to bed, because with deep rest and sleep, you're only increasing the neural connections of stuff that you have learned before you went to bed. That's why learning a language before you go to bed is so powerful. Then you can create up to 200,000 new neural connections. And what you're doing is you're actively training your brain to think differently. And when I think back to these exercises, the stuff that I've imagined in these 20 minutes, the stories that I've created, they feel like something that I remember from my past, from the stuff that I've really experienced. because your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something you imagined and between something you experience. And your brain also, for your brain, like time doesn't exist. There is no tomorrow. There is just right now. And that's why I'm saying, like, whenever you think ahead into the future and you always think like, I want to get there, it means to your brain, it means I don't have it. But at least I believe that you have to create a state in your mind where you already have it, where you are content with who you are and what you have. And also, if you add emotions to that story, at least to me, it feels way more real. So if you go through that story and you create, like that story, and you see all the images, I focus on my emotions and I try to understand if it's evoking emotions. So if I create a story and it doesn't evoke any emotions, it doesn't excite me, I know, okay, maybe I have to rethink that sentence. Maybe it's not for me. But if you do that properly and if you have the focus, then at some point you will realize that you will get like a warm feeling, some feeling of excitement about it. And to me, I call that reality seeds, because every idea, every material thing that you see in the world started with a thought. It started with a vision of somebody building that. And so if you do that, you're really like planting seeds in your subconscious mind. And if you do that, you can also improve the likelihood for your brain to stick to it. You can release or help your brain to release something called BDNF. It's a protein that it's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's like the fertilizer for your brain. It helps you to make the thing that you've learned stick better. And you can do that through fasting, but you can also just do like a 5-minute high intensity training, for example, beforehand. And you can also take supplements to increase the release of BDNF. And so this guy here, I don't know if you know him. That's David Goggins. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he says that really in order to change your thoughts, you can start with the thoughts, but you have to move into behavior, because the thoughts and the emotions will always follow. And he found a way for his dopamine network to attach to discomfort. So whenever he feels discomfort, then he doesn't shy away, but he says, okay, it's a trigger for action. I will move into that direction. And that's something I've learned about anxiety. Anxiety, in the beginning, it felt super devastating. I thought like, okay, my life is over. I can't do anything anymore. And today I know that anxiety is always like my compass. It shows me that something is not wrong and I have to change whatever that is. Sometimes it takes a lot of effort and time to understand what it is that I need to change. But to me, it's definitely a trigger for action. And whenever I do something about it, it will shift. And so to wrap it all up, what you need to do is reset your dopamine network. That's, I think, the most important part. Get away from external rewards, get into internal rewards, learn how to self-reward yourself, because it's really just you and you. There is like nobody else that will do it for you. There's nobody else who will reward you for stuff. If people reward you for stuff, if there are some external events that reward you, that's fake. Don't try that, or at least try it very consciously with an overarching vision, and fall in love with the process. Whenever you do something, of course, it feels uncomfortable in the beginning. It's hard to start something, but you can teach your brain to fall in love with that effort. And it's always now. There is no future. There is no past. There's only the moment that you have right now. And that moment is evolving. It's always unfolding into something new. But the future, there is not a point in the future that will happen. It's to me at least, the moment right now that will, unfold into something new. And controlling your nervous system really, to me, is key. If you learn how to control your emotions and how to use them to your advantage, it will be a very, very powerful thing for you. And yeah, think consciously, act consciously, speak consciously, and focus on something. Don't scatter your mind, and introduce constructive thoughts, like introduce something that is like the thoughts that are helping you to get on that path. And when you do that, you will become an infinite player, a player who's in the game to play, not a player who's in the game to win. And then you're already much different from most people out there, because then for you the game is never over. You're playing to play. Like that's the whole fun of it. Yeah, that's it.